Bachelor update.
Okay, everybody. We've been watching The Bachelor since episode 2, and we've been doing a review of every episode from it. Shug, what's the latest on this?
Yeah, so this week was not the actual show, but it was the Women Tell All because he's down to his final three women: Michelle, Bree, and Rachel. And so this Women Tell All. This is all. I mean, not all of them. There were obviously people missing, but most of the women that he sent home already, where they kind of got to say their piece and kind of give some kind of like background to stuff and talk stuff out. They actually had the opportunity to talk to Matt, and Matt was, a lot of it was explaining why he went a different way with women that thought they had a connection with him, that he decided not to move on with. But this was one of the last few appearances, like we will see at least this year, of Chris Harrison, I believe this week, and then next week it's been announced that for the After the Rose special, former football player, and he hosts uncomfortable conversations with black men with a black man, Emmanuel Acho. He'll be the host of the After the Final Rose, and I think that's the one after the finale that will be airing Monday. But this previous Monday, it was the Women Tell All. But actually, before I even go on, I by surprise, Chris Harrison actually appeared on Good Morning America and had an interview, real quick interview. I think it was only like about like 5 to 8 minutes long, with Michael Strahan, where he kind of like apologized, but at the same time, it was kind of like Michael Strahan afterwards. The takeaway that he got from it was like that it was like a surface apology. It was kind of like you know
Superficial, yeah.
it wasn't like genuine. So we'll see
Mhm.
what the future entails with Chris Harrison. But with the stuff we discussed with the Bachelor and the race stuff, I think like the main takeaway after everything that I've seen, I just think like the Bachelor might need like a huge overhaul because,
Oh, Jesus.
like, come on, it's like 25 years it took you before you had a black man on the show, and like the racism is so ingrained into the show that like the season that you do have a black man, it's like it has all of this extra like controversy to it. And then there's
Mm.
somebody like Chris Harrison, where you've been on the show since like the get, and it's like, why didn't you use your position and your influence on the show to say like, perhaps like, we need to like diversify the contestants, diversify the leads and stuff like that. And I mean, like I said, I think that's the one takeaway I get from everything we talked about, and this just this past interview with Michael Strahan, with Chris Harrison. I just think that show needs like a huge like makeover. I make it more diverse producers, diverse hosts, diverse leads. Like, who's to say they can't have like a season where you have like three bachelors and like 40 women, and then the women, they
Yeah,
can choose, like, because they did that with
like real life, like real life.
yeah, because they did that with
Yeah, sometimes women are with two guys at once, and they're like, "Who am I gonna stay with? Who am I gonna stay?" That happens, man.
yeah,
They're
because
like dating two people at once.
they did it with Paulie Shore. I mean, not Paulie Shore, Paulie and Vinny from the Jersey Shore, when they had like their dating show, where
Like,
it was kind of
sure.
where it's like they kind of had like 20 women and like 25 women, and he'd pick who he wanted to date. I mean, Paulie would pick who he wanted to date, Vinny would pick who he wanted to date, and then at the end of it, like, each of them had somebody. So I'm thinking like maybe you could have a bachelor season where you have like a black guy, a white guy, and a Hispanic guy, and you can have those three kind of like leaning on each other with like their decision making and stuff like that, and it would make for an interesting show. So that's just an idea I'm throwing out there. Mike, would
Yeah,
you want?
but with
Yeah.
Chris Hansen, yeah,
Hmm.
Chris Hansen did the whole typical. I apologize. I was a bad boy. I need a timeout, but I'll be back. I'm
Yeah,
speaking to an educator, a
bro.
racial educator, and I'll be back.
Hmm.
What year is this? Motherfucker, come on. By the
Yeah,
way, that wouldn't work either because what about Asian men? Asian men need to
yeah,
be
them too.
represented.
Yes,
I'm being dead
yes,
serious.
yes. I
Dead
totally agree
serious,
with
man.
that.
We
Yep.
need a when I was like in college, I'm like, I want to make a movie, and it's like the main guy who's like the hero just happens to be like Asian American. Just
Yeah.
happens. We don't mention it at all, and
That's
maybe it happened once or twice, but come on, crazy.
and
But
yeah, and I got
yeah. So he'll be forgiven. He'll be forgiven. The next season will be Brad from Iowa.
Kansas, Iowa, Kansas.
Mhm.
He was born in
Form
Kansas,
fit.
but yeah, he was born in Iowa and grew up in Kansas. But
Yeah. Yeah. he's diverse.
yeah, extremely diverse. He could tell you one breed of cow from another one. But yeah,
We went to Chicago one night.
I never really talked to a black guy before, but I walked up to the bar and I asked for a drink, and this black guy was ahead of me, and I just said, I apologize for skipping him. So I would say I'm not racist. Um, but yeah, that interview, I ran through Twitter and it was like, yeah, at 7 o'clock, and I'm never up at 7, so I had to like DVR it and
Mhm.
then fast forward through like 2 hours of Good Morning America to see what's
Oh,
happening. Yeah, what's up?
it was Eric Dyson. Eric Dyson. Hey, let's bring it back to real world. Eric Dyson was always with Kevin Powell. Kevin Powell. They would always have things on BET when I was a kid. You remember that? Eric Dyson. Eric Dyson's a
But
gentleman
I
who
know,
had a
yeah,
lot of books.
I know Michael Eric Dyson. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't, yeah.
Okay. Okay. I just wanted to bring it up, and I'll
But
save
that
that for
is
the
one of the
outro. But
people that Chris Harrison said he talked to. But yeah, it's ironic.
yeah.
Before we get into like the episode, the Women Tell All. But yeah, with Chris Harrison, it's like, yeah, I went to racial sensitivity training because just before like we started recording, I was scrolling through Twitter and it said like Camila Cabello, the chick from the singer, where it came out that she had like a bunch of like racist like Reddit posts before she got famous, and then she was in a group Fifth Harmony, and she would say like racist things to like Normani, who is also like a solo artist, extremely talented and beautiful. Um, she would say racist things towards her, and then she just came out today. It's like, yeah, I went to like a racial sensitivity training, and we had like it wasn't easy. Like we had to like really have tough conversations and do homework. And I just tweeted out this thing where I was like, Camila Cabello says, I'm not racist anymore because I had to write a 200-word essay about Rosa Parks. So I don't know. Maybe
Attention.
yeah, I don't know. Maybe we got to take like racial sensitivity course so we can see if it's the
Yeah.
real deal. Oh
We'll do it. Let's do it.
yeah.
That'll be like the that's the 50 episode spectacular that we'll have.
I mean,
uh,
I will say, if it's like the company I used to work for, it had a major racial incident, and I actually had like a day where we had to come in and do like racial sensitivity training. And if it's anything like that, if what these people say, like I went to racial sensitivity training, if it's anything like how that day went, like these people aren't learning shit, and they're probably no less racist coming out than when they were going in. But I was on spiel. Don't forget to check out, if you're watching this
no,
on YouTube or listening to this, check out our video on the Bachelor and race, and it's about 50 minutes.
microaggressions too.
Yeah, it's 50 minutes
That
long,
too.
and but I guarantee you it's worth every second of it. Like we really took a deep dive in the history of the series. Even if you gotta watch some now and watch some later, it's really worth the time. Like I'm not just saying that because I was in it, because I rewatched it. I was like, yeah, this is really like informative. But let's get into the Women Tell All. So first things first, all of my babes are back. All the women I
Yeah,
love.
15 of them, right?
I think so. It
Because
seemed like that many.
Yeah, because it was 25 altogether, or 24 altogether. So now it's 9 left, 8 left. Yeah, so it should be 15. Yeah, so this is a typical thing at the end. Usually they do it afterwards or right before, which is what they did with this. But they have
Mhm.
like a gathering, and it's a great episode always. And, so Shook, what'd you get from it?
Yeah, so all my babes are back, especially Katie. I love me some Katie. MJ and Yesenia stuff was like revisited, but it wasn't like there
Mhm.
wasn't nothing, no, not much like new information there. Victoria is still Victoria Ing. But she apologized to Ryan, who Ryan was like her. She's a professional dancer, like and like choreography,
Pole dancing.
not pole dancing, like that was the point.
Didn't bring that up. Oh, it wasn't. Oh, sorry. Oh, never mind. Just continue.
Yeah, she's professionally a dancer. Like
Okay.
like choreographed dancing, like stage dancing, stuff like that. But Victoria tried to imply that, oh, you're a dancer, so like you're like a hoe, to imply that she was like like a stripper. But and
Mm-hmm.
but she asked, she apologized, but she asked if she's a sensitive person because she's holding on to it. But it's like, yo, like you call me a hoe on national TV, of course I'm gonna be like offended, and I'm still offended now because everybody I know watched it. Victoria gave Katie a sincere apology about their issues. Chelsea claimed that the house wasn't toxic until Katie brought the situation about them basically like being nasty towards Anna to Matt. And I found it crazy considering the antagonizing of Sarah, the five new girls, and as well as Heather, who came on for that one episode. And they said that Katie was fake, because remember, like Anna had interrupted Katie and Matt's time together to talk to him about like her mental health stuff, but Katie didn't know that at the time. And they said she was fake for that because she was complaining about Sarah like interrupting her. And after she was interrupted, remember Katie talked to Sarah, and they kind of like bonded over the fact that like Katie had lost a parent before too, so she understands the emotional toll that yeah, that Sarah's dad, his ALS, like wanting to be there to find love, but at the same time your mind is at home with your dad. And she understood and she comforted her, Katie did. So it's just weird that they were saying that like she was fake. I'm like, that was
Mm-hmm.
one of the most genuine things I've seen, because it isn't like Matt. Like they said it was like Matt doesn't see these things, so she didn't have to do that. Like that was just genuinely in her character and her personality. And I thought that all of the girls were really like bozos. Obviously, not the girls that were being bullied, but also the other girls that were doing the bullying. Like I thought they were like bozos about bullying culture, except for Katie and Yesenia, because Yesenia was another one that called out MJ for the bullying stuff. And plenty of them came from the angle of how does you calling out bullying improve your relationship with Matt, which I found sickening. Like, oh, like I'm calling out bullies just to like look good for this guy, rather than like, oh, I'm calling out bullies for like, it's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And then another part, Brittany, who was the person that Anna had implied, not implied, but she flat out put the rumor out there that she was like a high class like escort.
Mm. No, that's what I was saying.
Yeah, she was. Brittany came up and like described what the fallout was, and she said that it you could tell and through her body language, like it was like really devastating to be on national TV and have somebody accuse you of being like a sex worker. And she even said like, no disrespect to like women who do that for a living or are in the sex work industry, but like that's not her. And to imply it was just like, classless. Anna never reached out to Brittany after the show. Anna said that she said it out of anger and insecurities with herself, but she apologized again. I don't know how genuine it was, but you could tell from Brittany. I really felt bad for her because you could tell like it was just like, oh, like I gotta like explain this shit to like friends and family, and she said like she couldn't even talk to friends and family. She wouldn't like respond to texts and stuff because it was like it seemed so overwhelming to have to deal with it. So like I really felt bad for her. So then Katie came up on the stage and then she talked about why she didn't she kind of understood why like Matt didn't have a connection with her and sent her home, even though she thought they did. She said that she wasn't really paying attention to any of the other relationships, meaning she didn't realize that Matt was, far more connected with the other women that stayed on past her leaving or her being sent home. And that was the reason why, like, she was caught off guard. And that's why, like, she was really, really, like, stunned when it happened. And she said, she said, I have to remain hopeful that my person is still out there. That's what she said. And
Hey, why not? That's your girl.
yeah, here I am. Yeah, that's what I'm
We
saying.
got a campaign going.
I was doing that to the TV. I was like raising my hand, like I'm here, babe. I'm like that was my hopeless ass to the TV. But in all seriousness, my loss aside, like Katie, she was like was like the most genuine girl on the show to me, and she was like the most like comfortable in her own skin. And that's incredibly attractive to me. Like a woman that's like really like selfless and funny, has a great personality and like just a great overall like vibe to them. So like, my bias aside, I'm just saying that like she was probably like my favorite person on there. Just in just like overall like, everything. Abigail, as you know, she was born with a hearing impairment, and she has implants. In order for her to hear, she has to wear implants in both ears. And her participation was a huge thing for the deaf and the hearing impaired community. She got lots of messages from like lots of people in the hearing impaired and deaf community saying that like she was an inspiration. Seeing her on the show was very uplifting for them. So I thought that was like really, really like a beautiful thing to watch and hear. And seeing Abigail on there, she was a very beautiful girl, and she had like a very she was very nice and awesome, and I'm glad to hear that her breaking like this barrier. We talk about representation, we didn't even know or didn't even think about that, the fact that like people with disabilities aren't well represented in media either. So then Piper came up. Piper said she felt fooled because remember, she was the last person to be eliminated before the final four and before the hometown episode. So she went into that episode feeling like that. Her and Matt had like conversations about what meeting her parents was gonna be like. So she basically thought like she was basically under the impression that she would have been chose, and she wasn't. And this was one thing she said, and I don't know, like especially when we watched the show, and I know Mike, you said like a lot that like the part that made you that kind of is like odd to you about the show, or the part of the show that you find odd is just how like a guy could like date all of these women at the same time. She said this thing. She said that Matt had a special way of making every woman in that house feel special. And it didn't seem like she said it in a negative way, but it didn't seem like she meant it in like a positive way neither. So I don't know if like he was like straight up lying. But at the same time, if you're in that position, like you have to try to make some kind of connection with everybody in the house. Like you're not gonna just straight up not like people or not like the women. If that was the case, you would just send them home, and I think that's what he did the first episode.
Well, let me interject here. If one girl goes, one woman says she likes selling, and he goes, "Oh yeah, I sell for a while, whatever." And then the next lady says, "I don't like the water at all. I like hunting."
Mhm.
Yeah, I've hunted before. Does it make him a liar
Yeah.
if he does both? Like, that's the whole thing. It's like he can. That's called dating. You're doing it all at once.
Yeah.
But I just don't like the fact. I don't like the whole like physical act of it. It's kind of like that. It's praised by conservatives and all that stuff. But I don't. That's near here nor there.
Mhm.
Sure. I apologize. Continue.
Yeah, and Serena P on the last episode, I wanted to get into it last week, but or like expand on it last week, but we didn't get the opportunity to. But Serena P actually decided, after talking with her family, that Matt wasn't the right person for her, and she took herself out of the running, which was shocking to us as viewers, and it was also shocking to Matt because he was definitely like blindsided by it. But she explained herself in saying that the whole meeting the family and stuff like that, how she imagined it going was not the way it ended up going, and that was and that was the first sign that perhaps Matt wasn't right for her, and that was the reason why she changed her mind. And this is the thing she said. She said it felt that it wouldn't be fair to Matt, and it also wouldn't be fair to the other three women if like she was 50%. She was only like 50% in love with Matt, and Matt was 100% in love with her, and the other three women were also like 100% in love with him. So she just felt like it would be best for her to take herself out of the situation or take herself out of the equation.
Yeah, like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. It's like the
Hmm.
old saying, like 1 foot in the door, and that's what the whole saying. Which is a lot of relationships, even though you're in love or
Yeah,
you feel the love.
right. So then Matt came out rocking his Rick Ross, James Harden beard. Like that's what a lot of ladies said. They were like,
Beard, yeah,
he could
I
look.
heard
He's
about
James.
that.
He's like, oh, he's James Harden now. So he came out and he confronted the women in person. So Mike, what he like likened it to is like, imagine like running into your ex and like, like real randomly. And he was just like, imagine it was like
Oh,
20 of them at the same time. So you kind of got, I got where his head was at, being here at the swim
yeah.
and tell all.
Well, I had that experience. Like I think I mentioned one time, I had like 6 or 5 ex-girlfriends in the bar at the same time.
Right.
One future one, so I understand how it feels, but no camera, no, maybe like a old school, like maybe like a little old flip camera. But I had that experience, so I get what he's saying. I
Yeah.
fell for him.
Yeah, it happened a lot for me in like college, like going to parties and stuff and seeing like a
Yeah,
girl I used to mess with and stuff like that. So I totally related to him when he said that. As we said, when Victoria got sent home, or he didn't give her a rose and she got sent home, he didn't say anything to her, and she talked about how like hurt that she felt that he couldn't even like look at her and didn't say anything to her. And like a lot of people, they went to like the body shaming route. They was like, oh, he didn't even look at her, like, he's body shaming her. And I was like, I don't know how the fuck you got that from him just being like disgusted by like her actions. But he did admit that just like ignoring her while she was like talking to him at the rose ceremony when she didn't get picked. He apologized for it. He was remorseful for not speaking to her. He said he could have handled he could have handled it better. Then then obviously they switched to like the more like lighthearted parts of the show. One of the things I didn't notice while watching, I don't know if you did, Mike, in the times you watched it, but Matt, every time he makes out with a girl, he makes out with a girl with his eyes wide open. And I
and there's
never
cameras on him. I was like,
yeah, and I
I
never
just feel weird.
yeah, and I never thought of it, and because I don't know, like me personally, when I make out with girls, like I close my eyes, and I didn't even think that that was the standard. That's just what I did. But then when I saw him doing it, I was like, Yeah, dude, like you're supposed to close your eyes when you're making out
Weird.
because imagine somebody opens, and that's what a lot of the girls said. They was like, I would just open my eyes and we'd be making out, and like I'd open my eyes and like he'd just be staring at me, and it's like weird, but you don't want to say it's weird and stuff like that. So that part had me like busting out laughing. It was hilarious.
Yeah, it is weird. Like, that's funny. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's not, it's not funny, but it's like that's an old joke. Like, eyes open. Those on like shows and stuff. They always talk about that. Like, that's creepy and stuff. But
Mhm.
I don't know. Maybe it's awkward on TV. So he's like, you know, weird. He has to remember which one he's making out with. That's why. There you go. He
Yeah,
has to
perhaps
remember.
he probably didn't want to
Too
admit
many.
that.
Too many.
He probably didn't want to admit
There
that.
you go.
Um,
Think about that.
the bloopers, they showed some bloopers off camera stuff. It was hilarious. Like they had one of those like Fear Factor type uh group dates where they had to like reach into a
Oh, the
box with,
cockroach.
yeah,
Cockroach. Yeah.
yeah, with like all of these insects
Ugh.
and stuff like that,
Ugh.
and it was hilarious.
Ugh. That creeps me out, man. Insects creep me out. I don't care, dude. That grossed me out. I don't care how beautiful. How just that weirded me out, man.
Yeah,
I don't know how
yeah.
you feel about it. How you,
It,
it's like the fear, fear factor. I don't know.
Yeah, it's yeah. Even watching it, it's kind of like icky. But they had to reach in to find a ring around like different
Mhm.
insects and shit, like worms and all that stuff. Then another
Well,
bleeper.
it's symbolic. It's symbolic for the other worms and roaches you got to date before you get your man. That's like kind of like the poetic version of it. If if I want to defend the show, because I have to
Aha.
defend reality for spending 5 years employed by them. All right, that's it.
Then
Did
another blooper was like Kit. Like I guess this was the thing I didn't know. Like Kit is like the daughter of like a big ass like fashion designer. So she's always grown up in like New
Which
York
one?
City and like in the city, and she never went camping or none of this stuff. So they had like hide and seek in the woods, and like she got lost, and all the while like she got lost, like the girls that actually found Matt, like they were in a hot tub, and she like found her, she was lost looking for him, but found herself by the hot tub, like
Mhm.
all by like mistake and like happenstance. So that
Mm.
shit was hilarious. And they played it up.
I'm not familiar with her parents though. I'm not familiar with the her mother is like a fashion designer. I'm not familiar with her though. So
Yeah, it's one of them things you just
Rowley,
like when
I'm
you,
not familiar.
it's one of them things where you like it's just on the front of like the Wikipedia page. I think one of
Hmm.
them's like
No,
dad.
it's part of the thing. Yeah.
Yeah, one of them's dad used to play for the Giants, and yeah,
Okay.
it's one of those factoids, trivia questions.
Mm.
And then they showed like a minute and a half preview of like the final episode. What do they call it?
Mm.
Like dream suites or something like that, fantasy suites. And I guess it's when he like spends the night with them in like a
Oh
hotel
yeah.
suite, and
Yeah.
so that's
I
gonna be an
remember.
interesting one. And then his dad is actually gonna show up, and it looks like they're gonna have like a really like tense conversation. And his mom, he also talks to his mom because I think he has to like talk to them before he gets his final decision. And then it was like a point, I guess something happens that makes him like cry, and they're gonna show all that stuff. So, but I'm really excited to see the conversation with his dad because the stuff we talked about with the race stuff, like they never really showed him with like any other like black people, and I wanted to know where his dad was. So I hope his dad. I hope like it's kind of implied that like the reason why him and his dad don't have a good relationship is because of him and his mom's relationship like failing. So a lot of that
Mm.
stuff we're gonna dive into Monday night, and we're gonna talk about in next week's episode. So probably gonna have
Yeah.
like two or three more of these because we're gonna talk about the final episode. We're gonna talk about the after the rose, and then we'll probably do a whole overarching like wrap up of the whole thing and its whole experience of the first Black Bachelor.
And you got to remember too, all Suge's favorite contestants they're gonna do Paradise this year. They're gonna do the whole in between series, in between the Bachelor and the Bachelorette, they have the whole house, which is very much like Real World or
Hmm.
like Big Brother. Also, like they're filming it now. Like they took a break. Like when we started watching it, they filmed it like in the autumn or early, like early autumn. So like, do you notice they had the whole like previously recorded, like because like the whole controversy with the whole Harrison thing. So
Yeah,
like they had
yeah,
like
they did. I
previously
did see
recorded.
that. I did see that disclaimer.
Yeah, they said when they did it. So like they took, usually you do 6 weeks, a week or two off. 6 days, week off, 6 days, week off, and it just it turned, like that's like the schedule for production, and even in today's format. But so you never know, like something could happen. Like there's always like spoilers, and there's always people that are gonna like leak stuff, but you never know. So it's not, you never know what's gonna happen in the next few weeks. It looks like it's gonna end up. Usually it's April. It ends the show. Um, I say probably like last week of March,
Hmm.
maybe. I don't know. So we have like like 2 or 3 left,
Yeah, a couple weeks. Yeah,
which would be
still, we're
which
still
is
like,
it's standard.
yeah, we're still like very much like virgins to this Bachelor franchise. So we don't, every week is something like new to us, like getting used to the format. But stay tuned.